All right, this is the Cortez City Council regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, August 8th, 2023, and the time is 7:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask you to join me join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Donna, can we have the roll call?
Kefauver.
Aye. Here.
DeHaven.
Here.
Sproul. Here. Rainey.
Here.
Yazzie.
Here.
Dobry.
Here.
Medina.
Here. All right, can I ask for a motion to approve the agenda, or?
I move that City Council approve the agenda for August 8th, 2023.
Second. Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Rainey and Yazzie. I couldn't hear who was first.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kefauver.
Aye.
Sproul.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay, before I get into the consent agenda, I see that we have a full room, and I want to let the audience know that for those folks who are here for the agenda item about the rezoning, tonight is our first reading, which is basically introducing it, letting the public know that this is going to go to a second reading where the public hearing will be. So our public hearing portion for this will be on August 22nd, 2 weeks from now. So there's no public comment section for this tonight. But if you do feel like you still want to be heard, we can do that during public participation, period. And I just wanted to say that before I go through the consent agenda to give you time to fill out a comment card. But for it to be part of the record and part of that hearing, we need either submitted comments before the 22nd or for you to be present and make a comment the 22nd. So I appreciate you all being here and being engaged, but I just wanted to let you know the process that's going to happen tonight. So, okay.
And Madam Chair, if I could add to that, because it is a quasi-judicial decision that you'll be making, the decision that you make has to be based on the record, the information that constitutes the record at the public hearing. So any comments you receive today aren't part of the record from the public hearing. And if people that would comment today want their comments to be on the record, they need to either submit them in writing ahead of time, or they can bring a written statement to the hearing, or they can get up and make public comments at the hearing. But the idea is that you need to refine your receipt of evidence and testimony to only the public hearing. And that's why I think some people were confused as to why council members really shouldn't be talking to opponents or proponents of a quasi-judicial matter prior to the public hearing. And again, I always remind people that it's similar to a court hearing where the judge doesn't talk to the attorneys for one side without the attorneys for the other side present in the room, because they want to make sure that the judge is receiving balanced information. And so I would certainly caution anybody that wants to have their comments be part of the public record that will be considered by the council in its vote, that they should either submit written comments ahead of time or attend the public hearing on the 22nd. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could also add to that, public comments can be sent through the website, or there's all kinds of contact information on there, the city manager's office, the clerk's office, and there's a button on there just for comments. We do receive all of those, and they end up in front of you all in the council.
Great. And any comments that have been emailed to council have been forwarded to our clerk's office to make sure they're part of the record. So, okay. All right, so we're going to start on number 2 on our agenda, the consent agenda. The listing under consent agenda is a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by City Council. Either the public or a council member may request that an item may be removed from the consent agenda at the time prior to council's vote. That would be for discussion. So A on our consent agenda is approval of the council work session / special meeting and agenda minutes for July 25th, 2023. B, approval of the expenditure list for August 8th, 2023. And C, approval of a renewal fermented malt beverage and wine liquor license for Dillon Companies LLC, doing business as City Market Number 8, located at East Main Street, Cortez. Would anyone like to remove something, or is there a motion to approve as is presented?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Kiefhoffer.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer, Dobry,
Aye.
Spurl,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Is our timer on? Okay, because public participation, so we're moving on to number 3 on our agenda, public participation. There's no limit to the number of speakers, although public comment will be held to an overall time limit of 30 minutes. Speakers have a time limit of 3 minutes per person, may only speak once, and may not cede time to another commenter. And to this section is limited to 30 minutes so that we can continue to get through the rest of our business, but we have a second public comment section at the end in case, we don't get to everybody. And then for folks who haven't been here for public comment before, we have comment cards, and then we have, with the 3-minute time limit, we have visual indicators on when you have a minute left, 30 seconds left, and when your time's up. Okay, so I'd like to invite Susan for public comment. Hi, Susan. And so start with your name and address, thanks.
Good evening, Council and everyone else. My name is Susan Chemnitz. I live at 511 South Cedar Street, and I just wanted to make a comment, and I think I've done this before, so you'll probably get tired of hearing me. But where I live, usually when I'm going home on South Broadway. And on South Broadway and 3rd, there is a crosswalk. And this is probably the 3rd time I've gone down there, and I turn there. So I get in the turn lane after the stoplight. I get in the turn lane, and I'm watching yesterday, or the day before, and the lights are flashing. There's someone waiting to go in the crosswalk, and I'm watching 3 vehicles that came behind me, and all 3 of them ran right through that stop walk. I mean, they didn't even look. They just raced through as fast as they could. And while I was seeing that, I saw one coming from the south going north that did the same thing. Now, I don't know, if you guys can do anything as a city, since that's within the city limits, but I think someone's going to get killed there. I mean, there's going to be a really vicious accident, because one time a kid almost got hit. And it just keeps happening. And I mean, somebody please do something about it, because it really makes me. I actually thought about driving my car out in the middle of the road to stop the cars and let them hit me in the side of the car. Because I was like desperate. I'm like, no, you can't keep doing this. So please, if there's anything you do, I don't know if somebody can patrol that and stop those people, because it happens enough. It'd be worth putting some time into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan, and we appreciate you bringing that up, because we know that we've expressed that is a very dangerous intersection, and we've had folks who live on Canyon Drive express that in the neighborhood. We do have, for the public's update, we do have CDOT is supposedly doing a traffic study there. I'm not sure where that is or when that's going to be published, but I think Brian Peckins would be the person to talk to for that outside of hours, or who? Yeah, I think you can talk to me afterwards, but we're not expecting results until later in the fall. Okay. Okay, so our Public Works Director, Brian Peckins, said that we could expect hopefully an update from CDOT about that intersection in the fall. So unfortunately, it's taking a long time, but we are aware and we do want to address the dangers there. Okay, sorry for that. I'm gonna invite the next person for public comment, Charles Jeter. And start with your name and address, thanks.
Sure. My name is Charles Jeter. I reside in Chula Vista, California legally. However, I do have a membership at the Four Corners Rifle Pistol, which is 1545 Lebanon Road. In that capacity, the things that I'm looking at with planned housing impact my interests. So my issue today, I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to pass along and add in public record. One copy. I submitted this initially on the 13th or for the 13th of June, but I received no response. So respectfully, I would say that an autoresponder in 2023 would be a great idea, so people like me don't have to actually feel that we have to come and be heard. So I could just submit that, make sure it's done, and not spend money getting nice color prints and things like that. The issue I'm looking at is that jobs matter, and the types of jobs matter. When we're looking at housing, and my background is I was a former student at San Diego State University for urban studies and planning. So when we're looking at the types of numbers that we have, if we have any concerns, and I also gratefully, Rachel Marshbanks got me in the hallway and she said that there was a response, but it was brief from the consultant. I have not yet reviewed that, but I really appreciate the fact that my response was on the record. Just there's no feedback to us in the public, and so that builds a little bit of anxiety. And so I want to kind of focus about 15 seconds on that. Please, if you happen to have the chance to just go ahead and set up an autoresponder, we know you got the message. And then when I checked last week, I hadn't seen anything in the public record about what I'd sent in the past. So going through this real quick. If we're looking at housing, we're looking at actually having really good jobs, but we do have a significant portion that is local government, and I'm not sure how the numbers might have gotten skewed, but the numbers I saw for the past 3 years were roughly 2,100 jobs in local government, which is about 18%, not 9%. So those numbers and that disparity is about 1,000 jobs off, the 1-minute warning. Agriculture is shown at 976, accommodation food services at 1,100. These things all matter when we look at the types of housing that somebody could qualify for a mortgage or to pay rent on. So essentially, this handout, if it can make it to the public and people can look at it, in the past 6 years, for example, high-paying jobs in mining is one example, have decreased significantly. And local government as an employer leads all categories in Montezuma County. I think the public needs to be aware of that when we're looking at solutions that are holistic. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Charles, for coming tonight. Okay. Any more public comment? Any more? Okay, so then we're going to move on our agenda to number 4, presentations. 4A is our truck naming contestant winners, presented by Brian Peckins.
Madam Mayor, City Council, we've got a fun topic tonight. We're going to announce our truck naming contest winners. Council previously approved four refuse trucks and 1 sweeper truck on a lease-to-own purchase. To encourage participation from residents of Cortez and Montezuma County, we initiated a truck naming contest with a $100 gift card for each winning entry. The contest ran from 16 June to 20 July 2023. A total of 218 entries were received, with 79 coming in at the last third Thursday on July 20th. A 5-person selection committee consisting of 4 city staff members and an at-large citizen reviewed the entries and picked the winners. And without further ado, I'd like to announce the winners of the $100 Cortez cash gift cards. And the names are Jason Bedker, Pac-Man, Vin Diesel, Carol Duran, Truck Norris, Chelsea, Sidewinder, David Roberts, and Meryl Sweep, Ginny Rock. If any of you are here, can you come up?
Yeah, do we have our contestant winners? All right. Okay. I don't know how we want to do this. Do we want to? Yeah, we'll all get up and, okay, so who do we have here for Chelsea? And Jason. Okay.
And just one final note, we will publish the names on the website, and we have some good honorable mention names as well, so it's probably worth taking a look. That's all I've got, subject to any questions. Thank you.
Great. And then you, Brian, you said the gift cards and certificates for the contestants who weren't here, or the winners who weren't here, you have them at the service center. Okay. Great. Thanks, Brian. So yeah, you'll see those cool names on the sides of all our trucks as they drive around town. Okay, we're going to move on to 4B on our agenda, Council Chambers AV Options, Round 2, presented by Kelly Koski, our Director of Finance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a quick review. In our last council meeting, we did discuss the 4 options that we had narrowed down from a list of other options. Just a reminder, in the 2023 budget, there was $86,734 that is in that budget, and to date, no equipment has been ordered yet. So I feel like we made great progress in the last meeting, narrowing down the options from 4 to 2. Looking again at cost, flexibility, and what really fits our needs. So as we look at our new options, which were option 2 and option 3 in the last council meeting that we had, you'll notice that there is a price difference in option 3 as we took out the tablets at the dais. So really, option 2 and option 3 come down to the difference in the cameras that are with each one of those options. So we're open to any discussion or questions about that.
So you're saying the difference between option 2 and 3 is kind of the camera setup and quality?
So yes, since we removed the tablets for the dais in option number 3, option number 2 has the stationary cameras that would be set up. You would be able to see the entire room, but it wouldn't have the panoramic view like option number 3 does. Option number 2, when you have stationary cameras, I know at times if you're watching on YouTube or if you have to go back and review a prior meeting, it can be difficult to tell who's talking because those cameras don't track like to the podium or to the mayor or over to like the city attorney. But that would be the only deficiency that I would see with option number 2.
Kelly, can you talk about, I assume that in your statement, you're saying that in terms of longevity and in terms of like a warranty, all those things are equal as well? It's just literally the camera issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. the systems are the same as far as the hardware that would be installed, the quality of the hardware, the warranty that we would have on that equipment are both the same.
And that range still is kind of broad. Do you have any hard numbers for option 2 and 3, or?
You know, we really tried to budget for the worst-case scenario, built in, I think, a 20 or a 25% cost increase, depending on the length of time that it was going to take us just to get equipment through the supply chain. So when you see 120,000 and you see 150,000, that's worst-case scenario with that contingency built in. So my hope is that it would be less than that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Kelly, can you tell us who the vendors are that we're looking at for these ranges?
So one of the vendors is Ford AV, and the other vendor is Networks.
Okay, and which one's for which?
Ford AV is option number 2,
Okay.
and option number 3 is Networks. They're both good companies, both reliable, reputable companies. I think each would have good customer service, not only through the installation, but also for support afterwards. So I don't really see that either one of those would weigh out the other as far as that option.
Would option 3 make Vicky's job a lot easier with a panoramic type camera?
You know, the panoramic cameras are what we use now, so it wouldn't necessarily make her job easier, but the fact that we would have the 3 servers in the stack that were all compatible with each other, so they weren't fighting with each other all the time, would definitely make everybody's job easier. Yeah.
And option 2 meets that as well.
I'm sorry?
Option 2 would meet that as well, the connectivity.
So option 2 would actually have the cameras that are just stationary, which is different from the cameras that we have now.
But all
So-
the systems would talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Kelly, thinking about budget, if we were to even consider the higher end of option 2 and the lower end of option 3, like, is that something we could even manage with the current IT budget this year, or would it have to be a consideration for next year's budget?
So when we started this in the 23 budget, at that time, we were looking at about a 9-month lag in the supply chain. So we actually put part of the budget in 23, and then in 24, we were planning to build in the additional $86,734. So no matter what we do, it's going to span across 2 different budgets. And so whatever that number comes in at, we'll have to budget the remainder in the 24 IT budget. Yeah. But we were planning to do that anyway.
Do you have any idea how many viewers that we have?
I was looking here, at the most I've ever seen is 100 views on our YouTube. Is that what you mean?
From August of last year until, not counting this meeting, obviously, we've had 1,527.
Okay.
So you're really good at math. Can you figure out $80,000 and how much it costs per person to watch us?
Well, I'm going to say this, Dennis. When you take a look at, sometimes the answer isn't just about money. Sometimes the answer is about our responsibility to the citizens. I think COVID was a very special time where we moved to all virtual council meetings, and that became the expectation of our public. And I think, money is an issue, but I think we also need to consider the responsibility that we
I
have
got
to
you.
our community.
Do we need to give them a Lexus, or can they get by with a Ford Escort?
Well, maybe a Ford Escort if it's got AC.
Well, Yeah, because for the panoramic thing, is that gonna need someone to actually physically do it, or is it automatic based on noise? Because I feel like maybe that's kind of unnecessary. It's like, we're trying to make a good record for in perpetuity, and make sure the whole room is actually caught on camera, whether it's zoomed into our faces or not. I don't know if it's worth paying extra for that, just as long as we have the good record, people can hear us on the video, and they're consistent.
I'd also ponder too, if it makes sense to then, if we're not manually having to do panoramic, if we just have the static cameras, if it makes sense to have two IT staff present for every council meeting or other meetings too. Like, I don't know how that's divvied out, but.
So no matter what system we have, I think we'll always need to have IT staff here, just because we do have so many different presentations. People struggle with their laptops, not connecting to the network. And so when we have IT staff here, it's not just to, run the console. It's just to help the meeting flow smoothly also.
I guess I lean towards option 2.
Yeah, I would lean towards option 2 as well. I think both of the options meet our accessibility needs, and I don't think we need to be going above and beyond there. I think we need to be making sure that we're spending the most appropriate amount of money.
I agree.
I also support option 2.
That sounds good.
Okay. All right, so do you need anything else from us to kind of move forward, or?
Just to clarify, we are agreed to proceed with option number 2. Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time on this.
Great. Thanks for your work on this, Kelly.
Sure.
Okay, we'll move on to 5 on our agenda, public hearings. We have none tonight. So 6 is unfinished business. We don't have any unfinished business either, so we'll move on to 7 on our agenda. 7 is new business. 7A is our Colorado Loma application. It's a local match application presented by Kelly Koski.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. So, as you know, we were very fortunate to receive the RAISE Grant Award, which was a planning grant that was to evaluate and reform the city's interstate corridors, do a corridor assessment, public engagement strategies, engineering and technical design, and a feasibility study with a cost analysis. So with that, though, also comes a grant match, and our grant administrator, Mr. Scott Baker, is always looking for ways to stretch our dollars as far as he possibly can, and he came across the Loma application. Loma was designed specifically for smaller areas that may have large projects that they need to complete but don't have a means to come up with the grant match to go with it. As part of the Loma application, the funder does request that we have from council a vote that agrees that it is okay for the grant administrator to proceed with the Loma application, and that is considered a priority of the council. So
This is just a housekeeping thing.
it really is. It's just an item that we need in order to do the Loma grant application.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I move that City Council acknowledges the RAISE Planning Initiative as a community priority and thus approve the application for Colorado Loma funds to offset required match commitment.
Second.
Motion made by Yazzie and seconded by Dobry.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Spurl,
Yes.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you, Kelly.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to move on to 7B on our agenda, which is ordinance number 1322, presented by our contract city planner, Nancy Dosdall.
Good evening, all. This item is a request for a rezone for a property, almost 10-acre property located at 1050 Lebanon Road from C commercial to I industrial. I think this has been stated several times, but this, in case anyone just came in and missed it, this is just the introduction of the ordinance and a request to set the public hearing for August 22nd, 2023. That's 2 weeks from tonight at your regular meeting at 7:30. Are there any questions?
I think what went to planning and zoning was like a rezoning request and then a conditional permit request, and like maybe in case the rezoning didn't have, wasn't recommended or something. Will there be a conditional use permit?
There is an application for a conditional use permit. Conditional use permits go through a different process, so they don't need the first reading or an ordinance.
Okay.
So it's likely, yes, they would both be on the agenda as long as the applicant still wants them both on the agenda.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. And then, at the second reading, if the first reading is approved, at the second reading, you'll do the whole presentation, and then we'll have the applicant come, and then we'll open it up for the public hearing, and then we'll have our discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I move the council introduce and approve ordinance number 1322, Series 2023, on first reading and set a public hearing to consider on second reading the rezone request from Commercial C to Industrial I for the approximately 10-acre parcel located at 1050 Lebanon Road.
Second.
A motion made by Dobry and seconded by Kiefhoffer.
Rainey.
Aye.
Sproul.
Yes.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. And I just want to remind the audience that this is an approval to move this forward to be evaluated by the council. It's not an approval of the actual rezoning. So we're moving it through the process, but I really appreciate you all being here and being engaged. So thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 7C on our agenda, resolution number 18, series 2023, regarding our housing action plan presented by Sarah.
Thank you. Give me 1 second to get this set up. Thank you for having me, Madam Mayor and Council. I am here to give a brief overview of the Housing Action Plan and ask potentially for your official adoption of the plan. This has been about a 3-month process or so, and as far as what I'd like to talk about tonight, a review of the plan, ask for any comments, and then ask for a recommendation. I'd like to start by saying thank you to the Housing Committee members. We had several meetings and they were very long. There was a lot of content and a lot of research that went into that, and they were well engaged and well informed. And so I'd like to say thank you to them as well as to the community and to Council and Planning and Zoning for your work on this as well. The purpose of the action plan is to make positive difference in the quality and quantity of housing units in Cortez. It outlines a set of housing goals and actions prioritized based on community input. It's meant to serve as a decision-making guide for addressing the residential housing needs in Cortez. It's intended to be implemented over the next 5 years, but revisited during that time to measure changes and look at how things are performing. and it's meant to be a living document that works best if it is revisited. Housing is recognized in the plan as crucial for supporting a thriving community, business success, economic development, and community vibrancy. So just a quick overview of the process. This is coming on the backs of a housing needs assessment, which was a thorough study of the needs in the community. And we had a broad spectrum of needs, and the plan is taking those and saying, what do you do to address these? Which ones are you going to address? How do you do that? So the action plan establishes goals and identifies priorities for housing policies. It defines roles and responsibilities, and then sets up a timeline for trying to accomplish those. And then lastly, which will be an ongoing process, is management and monitoring. So once the plan is in place, it will continue to need work to be managed and monitored. Just a quick overview of what the Housing Needs Assessment said. There are needs across the full spectrum of income levels in the community, but overall, housing production has not kept pace with population and economic growth. And the greatest housing needs include supportive housing, which is below 30% AMI. It's on the far left in the dark red. Those are people making about $9 an hour. Rentals priced up to 60% AMI. Those are people that pay about $1,000 a month. They can afford about $1,000 a month for their housing payment. And for sale product priced up to 80%, which is about a purchase price of $175,000. So those were sort of the priority needs identified in the housing assessment. So as part of addressing these needs and thinking about how to approach the action plan, we did quite a bit of outreach to the community on sort of a broader, higher level. We had 3 open houses. We did a questionnaire that was put in with water bills. We also had that same questionnaire available at the open houses. And what we heard from the community is to focus on housing quality, be realistic, work with the market, build more housing across the spectrum, and rehabilitate existing units. And so we use this to sort of help guide our discussions and help set up the plan. As part of the plan, there are 3 goals that we define. We started with several, and we're able to narrow it down to 3. Goal 1 is to preserve, protect, revitalize, and maintain the quality and attainability of the community's existing housing stock. And in summary, this is preventing the loss or deterioration of housing units, protecting the affordability of existing units, and promoting responsible management practices for the community's existing stock. Goal 2 is to increase the amount of housing produced in Cortez and encourage a diverse mix of housing types to improve housing availability and options for residents that best meet their needs. In summary, this is increasing the amount of housing produced and promoting a diverse mix. And goal 3 is to focus new housing on the full range of incomes in need for various life stages, with priority placed on entry-level rentals, first-time homeownership, missing middle, and supportive housing. And these are needs that were called out as part of the assessment that was done. In summary, it's addressing needs of individuals and households across various income levels, prioritizing entry-level rental units, emphasizing the importance of promoting opportunities for first-time homeownership, recognizing the need for missing middle housing, which refers to housing types that bridge the gap primarily between 80 and 140% AMI, and acknowledging the significance of supportive housing, which combines attainable housing with supportive services to assist individuals or households with specific needs. To reach these goals, what you need is a variety of strategies. There really is no silver bullet. A range of strategies builds flexibility, effectiveness into the plan. You cannot do everything at once. Community engagement, public input is essential for support and to stay on track, and that is built into the plan. And partners will all focus on strategies that fit their missions and goals and that they have the capacity to complete. So in thinking about that and looking at the actions, the Housing Committee started with about, I believe, 40 options that through a variety of discussions we were able to narrow down to 14 specified in the action plan. As part of the discussions which came out of the joint council and planning and zoning session was to pull out education outreach, and collaborative partnerships to be overarching actions that sort of filter through all of the other ones. They should be included in pretty much each one that was identified. And just to highlight those a little bit more, how does the city employ the education and outreach policy? You can collaborate with partners, community groups, nonprofits, and other communities, organize meetings and outreach events, develop informational campaigns, provide dedicated online platforms, and engage schools and educational institutions to incorporate housing-related topics into their curricula. And these are just some sort of initial ideas. I think as you get into it, it will broaden and you will find different ways to provide education and outreach. And the other overarching action is to develop collaborative partnerships. Organize networking events, workshops, conferences, actively seek partnerships with nonprofit organizations and other groups. We've developed a list of existing and potential partners that are already in the community that you may already be working with or are already working with, so you have quite a good list of resources here to get started on that. So all of the top priority policies sort of call out how specifically you're going to do them. If we want to look at housing rehabilitation and weatherization at the top, there's the ultimate outcome, which is protecting your investment, more affordability, safety, and comfortable living. The lead role would be the city manager on this. The support role is code enforcement, community and economic development. The short term in 1 to 2 years is to reach out to Housing Resources of Colorado and Housing Solutions of the Southwest, which are already operating here. And the midterm goal, the 2 to 5 years, would be to seek out local, state, and federal funding programs. So for each of the top priority policies, we have pulled out specifically the ultimate outcome, the lead role, the support role, the short-term goal, and the longer term. The other policies are attract funds from outside the community, target developer engagement, and density and use by right. And then we've also identified priority policies. These we did not discuss in as much detail, but were highlighted as things to keep in consideration and to revisit as the other policies are put into place. Address arrested development, short-term rental management, which was discussed a little earlier today, notice of right of first refusal laws, infrastructure cost sharing, in-kind support with staff time and public work services, acquisition of market units, which would be buy-downs, and creating a local housing fund. In conclusion, the City of Cortez 2023 Housing Action Plan represents a balanced approach to community housing that fits with the unique needs of Cortez, including identifying and prioritizing specific community housing needs, setting goals and objectives to target those needs, exploring various available tools to address identified housing needs, prioritizing tools and developing strategies to implement those tools, and assigning responsibilities and a timeline for implementation. And I want to again say thank you to the individuals and the wider community who actively participated in this process, contributing their valuable insights and ideas that have been captured and preserved within this plan. And with that, I know it was a brief overview of the plan, but I'd like to open it up to questions or comments from council.
I had a quick comment. As somebody that served on the committee, the process that we went through was top-notch. And we covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time. You assembled a very diverse group of individuals from the community to be a part of it. I thought it was just really a fantastic process. So kudos to you for, putting that together. That was really incredible. And then I guess my second comment was that I was really happy to see supportive housing again included, because I think that, I know in our joint session with planning and zoning that did come up. A couple of individuals ask about that. So for, naysayers in the community who are like, you're not looking at the whole spectrum. That absolutely is where that place falls, is in that supportive housing piece. And I think it's critical to meet people exactly where they are. So I really was glad to see that again tonight listed.
Good, well, thank you.
And then to piggyback on Matt's point about supportive housing, I think the aging population needs to be included in that as well, so that people can retire in place.
Right. Do you feel like that needs to be called out in the goal specifically? Because under supportive housing, we have specific needs such as those facing homelessness, mental health challenges, or substance abuse.
Yeah, because I think it's also just, you know, aging or disabilities, you know. I don't know, maybe we're getting too specific, but I just think those are part of supportive housing as well. Yeah, the last one.
Are there any other further questions or thoughts?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that City Council approve Resolution Number 18, Series 2023, accepting and adopting the 2023 Housing Action Plan for the City of Cortez.
Second.
Motion made by Kiefhofer and seconded by Spruill. Who was first? Spruill?
Kiefhofer,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Yossi,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Spurl,
Yes.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you so much for being here and presenting the Housing Action Plan. You know, I hope we're making great strides to really address housing in our community as a whole. So, okay, we'll move on our agenda. 7D is bid results for the 2023 street improvement project, presented by Brian.
Madam Mayor, City Council, the city's Public Works Department prepared the bid plans and
Are you talking into your mic? Sorry, so it's hard to hear you,
sorry.
Brian.
The city's Public Works prepared the bid plans and specifications for this project and advertised the projects on the city's website and in the Cortez Journal. 3 sets of bid documents were picked up and a pre-bid meeting was held on 26 July with all interested prospective bidders. Bids were opened on July 28, 2023, with only one bid received from Old Castle Southwest Group at $885,950.24. The City of Cortez has an annual budget in the Street Capital Fund for street improvements. A capital street fund is generated from city sales tax aimed at improving the streets, providing storm systems, and other city paving needs. This year's project consists of milling and filling on Empire Street on the north side from Highway 145 to the west side of Mildred Road. In addition, the police department has plans for a new entrance road and parking lot at the police station with access onto Empire. The Street Capital Fund has a total of $1,007,000 budgeted for this year's street improvements. The police department has budgeted approximately $164,000 for their portion of the project. Public Works recommends awarding the bid to Old Castle Southwest Group. They are very capable and have done many projects for the city in the past.
Brian, I'm sorry, can you repeat the sections of road that this would cover?
Yes, and it's limited this year. It's mill and fill on Empire Street from Highway 145 to the west side of Mildred Road. And then we're going to do the police department project, revamping the entranceway so they can go out on Empire rather than Park.
Okay.
And then, did you say that this is, the budget for this year was 1 million something, so this is under, is there?
It is under budget, and, you know, we need to have some money in reserve for potential change orders, but we may be able to do additional work depending on how things go.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I guess what's that balance of additional work or saving that money for, you know, the next project that may cost more than what we budget?
Exactly. It's a balancing act, so.
Okay.
So I did just have a question about the budgeting with $164,000 budgeted for the police portion, but the bid coming in under, how would we split that out? would we use that entire 164,000 for the police portion, or is it broken out in the bid, I guess, like how, that's what I'm trying to
It
figure
is.
out where the money comes
And
from.
actually, their bid for the police project came in a little bit higher, so we would use some of our funding for that, but we would use the 164,000 from the
Okay.
police.
Thank you.
Yeah, how come 164 is coming out of the police budget? Do they have their own capital? I guess I'm trying to remember the process, because I remember approving the safety of the entrance and that it would cost money.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, we put it over to the police department just to be open so you know what that's for. It is for that police department piece. So normally they don't do a lot of capital projects, but in this case it truly fits there. So it's just being open with the community and what it is. Just trying not to bury it is all.
Okay. And just for the audience who isn't aware, you know how the police department's right next to Kemper. This is to address those safety issues of sharing and egress and ingress. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, it really is a safety issue right now, and right now they literally have to leave where children are playing, and when there's emergency calls to go to, they need to move in and out in a hurry, and it's just a recipe for disaster. We haven't had any issues, but we don't want any, so we're trying to work that out ahead of time.
Did I say Kemper? Okay, I didn't mean Kemper, I meant Kiva, sorry. Kiva.
I would never presume to correct the mayor.
The old Justice Building. Okay, any more questions from council?
No, I move that the city council award the bid for the 2023 street improvement project to the Old Castle Southwest Group, Inc. at its bid price of $885,950.24.
Second.
A motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Rainey.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Sproul,
Yes.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay,
Okay, great, thank you.
thank you, Brian. Oh, when will that work start?
Probably not for about a month or so.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on our agenda. 7E is resolution number 19, series 2023, presented by Patrick Coleman, our city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A city staff member filed a complaint regarding an interaction that the staff member had with the city manager. Because the HR department and the HR director report to the city manager, an independent investigation was conducted. And because I also represent the city manager on legal matters, I had a conflict of interest in advising the council, which is the city manager's supervisor. And so independent outside legal counsel was retained to advise council on this matter. Through discussions with the council in executive session, and the outside legal counsel, Bill Kelly, prepared an action plan to resolve the dispute or the complaint, and that resolution is detailed in resolution number 19, series 2023, and outside legal counsel is asking or recommending that council approve the resolution and adopt the action plan. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Madam Mayor.
You know, and for transparency of the community, I'd just like to share the actions that we are taking in light of this unfortunate situation. So we are in our resolution, it states that the city will promptly conduct training on personnel policies and the complaint process, including measures against retaliation for all city employees. Supervisors and managers will also attend further training on handling responses to complaints regarding personnel policies. The city also we are initiating an independent review of the city's workplace complaint policies and investigation procedures. So we would like the public and staff to know that we as a council take workplace harassment, intimidation, and complaints about safety very seriously. Whether grievances are founded or not, they should be put through the process with respect and objectivity. We strive to have an environment where staff feel safe and where there exists a trusted system for when situations arise. I believe that the proposed actions stated in the resolution that are being considered by City Council tonight accurately reflect what, I believe is the proper response to this issue. Do we have any other comments or discussion from council?
I just want to say that I think sometimes good things can come out of, a negative situation, and I think that there are a lot of good things that come out of this situation, including kind of standardizing ways in which we do training and the things that we include as part of that to have a safe and respectful work environment for everyone, regardless of the department that they're in. So ultimately, I think the action plan is really a positive thing.
I move that City Council approve Resolution Number 19, Series 2023, and hereby approving an action plan for resolving a personnel matter.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Yazzie.
Spurl.
Yes.
Yazzie.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, moving on our agenda. 8 is draft resolutions / ordinances. We don't have any. 9 is city attorney report.
No report, Madam Mayor.
Okay. 10 on our agenda is city manager report.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I've got 3 items for you this evening. Some small updates have been made to the City of Cortez website to help make it more user-friendly for the public. For example, one-click council and public planning and zoning live stream meetings and recordings access on the homepage. The website user group meets regularly and continues to fine-tune the website and work out the complications and bugs that emerge. I would like to say that we could take credit for this, but I would have to point to Councilmember DeHaven, who actually pointed the issue out, and we were able to resolve it. Thank you, Councilmember. Secondly, Ms. Carla Odell, our municipal court clerk / administrator, organized and hosted a very successful first municipal court networking event on July 28, 2023. Court clerks, administrators, and judges from around the area converged here in Cortez for presentations from Judge Padilla and the Alternative Defense Council, along with networking and lunch. It was a great event for everybody to get to know one another and be able to work together. And I've heard from Carla since that I guess interactions beyond this and the relationships have already been built, so you're already calling and talking to each other and helping each other, so good work. Also, I just wanted to point to the 19th Annual Cortez Balloon Rendezvous that occurred this last weekend. It was a huge success with at least 20 balloons participating. The Friday night balloon glow was a really wondrous sight, and the Saturday morning mass ascension was viewed by more than 100 people in Park DeVita and many more around the city as I was out and about. Great event. We're just so glad that they're continuing to do that here. I understand Mayor Medina got to actually go up in a balloon, and I reportedly had a great experience. So that's my report, pending any questions from council.
No. Thank you. Great event. Okay, we'll move on to 11 on our agenda, which is City Council Committee reports. 11A is the mayor's report on the workshop. So for those of you who weren't here or haven't watched the video yet, we had a joint meeting with Planning and Zoning to review get an update on our land use code update process. I felt like it was a really productive meeting. They presented kind of all of the issues they found with the code and kind of the overarching things that they're going to address in the code. So they're moving into the section where they're actually drafting a new code through, and there will be kind of 3 modules of that. And throughout each module, there will be opportunities for the public to engage and review along with us. And so we really encourage you guys to stay paying attention and, work with us on this, because we want to make sure that the code we propose next year is what our community wants and that you've been heard in this, so thank you. That's really all our workshops, so then we'll move on to other board reports. I'll start on this end. Lydia, do you have any board reports?
I have a report from the Historic Preservation Board, which met last week. We have, Historic Preservation Board is holding a public meeting on Wednesday, August 23rd at 6 p.m. in the Mesa Verde Room, which is right there. All of council was invited. I believe it'll be public noticed. And what it is to present the results from the priority property survey of 17 motels, gas station, restaurants that exist in Cortez that are eligible for various levels of historic preservation.
Okay, I don't have a board report either. Okay.
We meet a week from Friday.
Okay, Parks and Rec? Okay. David?
The Cortez Public Arts Committee met yesterday, and I would just like to say, as an observer as well as a liaison, that I felt like we had one of the best meetings I've ever attended. There are lots of plans in the works, which I will not divulge at this time, but one is we plan to do some networking throughout the creative community to raise awareness and hopefully move us forward. So, amen.
Cool. Thank you, David. Okay. Moving on then, at 12 on our agenda, other items of business, executive sessions.
Madam Mayor, I move that council move into executive session for the discussion of the following matters. There's two matters. One, to discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property interest under CRS Section 24-6-4024A, and for the purposes of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiation, developing strategy for negotiation, and/or instructing negotiators under CRS Section 24-6-4024E, all in connection with the possible purchase of real estate. And two, to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-4024F1 for a conference with Special Employment Counsel Bill Kelly for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-4024B, all of which specifically relate to a personnel matter involving the city manager who has not requested discussion of the matter in open session.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by DeHaven.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Spurl.
Yes.
Rainey.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, so we are going to go into executive session. We do have one last public participation part on our meeting if you guys want to stick around for that, but we won't be offended if you decide to go home. So.
Can I go home?
Almost.
Okay, the time is now 10:29 PM. And our executive sessions have been concluded. The participants in our executive sessions were council members, myself, Rachel Medina, Arlena Yazzie, David Rainey, Lydia DeHaven, Matt Kiefhofer, Dennis Brule, and Robert Dobry. Also included Special Employment Counsel Bill Kelly, City Manager Drew Sanders, and at the commencement of the executive session, City Attorney Patrick Coleman. Also, in another of our executive session, we had Kelly Koski as a participant. Okay, City Manager Drew Sanders and Patrick Coleman exited our executive session that started at 9:13. They exited at 9:54 p.m. Yeah, okay. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive sessions believe that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meeting law, I'd ask that you state your concerns for the record. Okay, so the next agenda item is public participation. Our second round. So there's no limit to the number of speakers and no overall time limit. But the speaker will have a limit of 3 minutes per person, may only speak once, and may not cede time to another commenter. Okay, so I'd like to invite Charles Jeter again to comment. All right, oh, make sure your mic's on. It should have a green. Perfect.
Check. Is that it? Okay, great. So thank you for coming back. Everyone has an origin story. And I'm not the guy to bring up problems without solutions. My name's Charles Jeter, and we've spoken before, but just so people know, I actually have an interest here because of the Four Corners Rifle and Pistol Club, which is located at 1545 Lebanon Road. So I was investigating the origin story of how I came across these numbers. I was investigating deed restriction for good neighbor, HUD loan applicable people for Montezuma County, Cortez, when the housing thing came out. And basically, I was doing that because I wanted to look at ways to keep institutional wisdom and keep mentorship opportunities for law enforcement and first responders, fire rescue here in Montezuma County and in Cortez. Okay, so my background is United States Navy. I was an aviation warfare systems operator, but everybody, 100% of the Navy, is damage control. We're all trained in firefighting. We've done mass conflagrations, all the other things you can think of. I also did shore patrol, and I was a brig chaser, which is a security law enforcement type of element. Those are collateral duties. I have a training and development background of 14 years. So when I talk about institutional wisdom, I know there is a cost associated with this. So I've had the chance during the interim to speak with several of your staff and get some more information. And I can tell you that I don't have to explain deed restriction in 3 minutes, because you got a great person named Kelly who does your financial wisdoms or financial wizardry, and she's got experience up in Yakima. Okay? I can tell you my experience with owning versus the Navy housing, and I can give you the model of going to Vegas and seeing all those little battery scooters and the battery bikes laying all over the place. That's housing. Ownership is completely different. People own it, they take care of it. There's a whole psychology thing behind it, whole sociology thing behind it. I'm not going to explain it. The big thing is this: less turnover is less financial bleed. Your quality of public safety, fire and rescue means you have a higher quality person here. Got it. And you're going to end up saving more lives and saving more trauma, which I think is really important. People miss that as well. I have kids, they're teenagers, they're male. I was telling Chief Knuckles, I want the most experienced law enforcement out there when my kids do hijinks that they do, because that's going to mean that those kids are safe. They're not doing something stupid, and they're not going to try something stupid because they have a better rapport with these people who've been around longer. This also removes the government employees who have deed restriction homes they've decided to get into as competition for the local housing. What happens is your curve for your trajectory for how high the housing costs, it doesn't skyrocket, it kind of stays a little bit lower because you're selling to a limited amount of people. Thank you very much for your time. I just wanted to let you know I'll be talking about that in the weeks to come when we talk about housing and things like that. That's it.
Thank you, Charles, and I really encourage you to stay apprised and participate during this whole process. You know, I think it's important. And then also you had mentioned on your last public comment about process when an email gets sent to us.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
and I do want to take ownership and apologize that I personally, I'm pretty bad about letting people know that I get an email. I always forward it to Drew, and I know that he'll respond right away, but I'm not very good at it. I'm still learning how to balance my life, and I want to do better, and I know that people deserve to recognize that their emails are being received and read, and so thank you for that, and I want to work on that. So
Thank you very much, Mayor. I hope I didn't come across too crusty. Unfortunately, one of my friends became one of the 22 veterans who committed suicide on Saturday, so.
I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to talk to you another 3 minutes about somewhere else down the road about mental health and some ideas about that. But he was in a rural area in Virginia, so it's very comparable to what we have here. Thank you for your time. Go ahead.
Okay, and then I'm sorry, I know this is inappropriate, but we are having an event, a memorial dedication next week, August 17th at 3 p.m. At Veterans Park.
Oh, okay.
I would love to invite you to that.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'll do my best to be there.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to adjournment. Does anyone want to go home?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Yazzie and seconded by Dobry. Donna wants to stay.
I do. DeHaven,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Spruill,
Yes.
Dobry,
Aye.
Rainey, Yazzie,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Thank you all.